So these are the three categories we have been covered, and what are the performance factors usually we will
Spike
have.
testing.
Spike also.
Spike also,
Spike
sir.
also.
Oh, okay. So we covered the spike testing also. So then we have been covered that too. And so we were discussing the different categories of testing. So that we have been merged, and then we are discussing with the topic of testing pyramid. So in this particular testing pyramid, so here we started to discuss from units, from the unit layer, and then API layer or the
API.
backend layer, and UI layer, and we were discussing on the DB or
Yes.
ETL or performance, and then security. So now we were discussing the flow, means the different table on this one. So all together, so in this particular table, so we started to discuss um, about the different layers and the objectives of this one, and we have been discussed the roles which it has doing it, and we have been discussed about the different types of testings. Okay, so now when it comes to here, this particular table, so the first layer we have been already discussed. So the first layer we have been discussed on the units. So the objective of this one is to test the smallest part of the codes, which is a units, and then the dev team will be doing this one, and the different type of testings perform these units. So the next one is the API or the backend layer. So in the API or the backend layer, so we started to the basic thing we need to test it is the functional and then non-functional. And here we have been done with the QA, and here we can do the all the type of functional regression, and we will be talking about the NFR also, so especially in terms of compatibility, performance, and then security. So now the same thing we wanted to test it from the UI layer. So UI also same, we'll be doing the functional and then NFR. So here you'll be doing the QA. The role will be the QA. So here also we do the functional regression and NFR, where it comes of the compatibility testing, performance testing, and security testing. And apart from this one, next we wanted to go, means we have been discussed, we didn't discuss about DB or ETL.
Yes, sir.
We didn't discuss on this, and we talked about the performance slightly, and it is not yet completed, and then security. So who would be doing the performance, security, and the DB or ETL? So the scope for everyone is the QA. So the role who will be doing for this one is the QA team or the QA member who will be doing on this one. And when it comes to the performance testing, so here it is purely based upon the objective of this one is to know the performance and then performance factors, where it talks about the scalability, stability, and then speed. So these are the three things which we will be trying to test it, the objective of this particular testing. And the security, it will check the security of the application. So how secured is this particular application to use it? So if you see here, what you need to understand is in these layers, what we are testing. So in the API layer and the UI layer, we are testing the functional and non-functional as together. And more focus we will be giving it on functional. And all this NFR slightly will be touched if at all you are doing it. Or if you have a separate dedicated team, this NFR would be moved to here. Means here we will just only do the compatibility testing and performance testing and security testing that would be moved to in these particular layers. So the right place to do it is in the layer performance testing. You need to do the performance and security. You need to do it as part of NFR. You can do the compatibility testing over here. But few organizations, they will do the performance and security as they don't have separate teams to do that. So this is how you need to handle, because some organization testing pyramid, they will talk about saying that, hey, I have only units, backend, and UI. That's it. They will have only three layers. So at that point of time, they need to cover the performance and security as part of this particular layer itself. If they don't, means if they have the different layers, so now they will cover only till the compatibility here, and then performance and security would be covered under these particular layers. Okay, don't get confused. So this is focused area for the performance testing and security testing dedicated. Okay, so in this particular performance, we have been discussed load, stress, and endurance and spike. We have been discussed volume and then durability. So these are the things which it has pending. So this we will be covering after. And now we need to understand. So the DB testing and then the security testing. What are the different categories of the DB testings are there? So that we will be trying to do it. So holistically, you need to understand that. Hey boss, if you given me a particular application, Tim, can you please go on mute? Others all. So if you given an application for you, so now you have an application with us. So once you have an application, so with this particular application, how you can cover the 360 degrees of this application is what the matter. So how you test this particular application, the 360 degrees, is what the point of discussion over here. So what is this particular testing around the 360 degrees is what we are trying to do on this one is what we wanted to check out. So now here it is DB ETL and then the security testing. So now we want first I'll complete this one and then I'll complete till means this is what in progress we are currently discussing. This is the topic in progress. Now let's complete this one and then go for the DB and then security. So this would be our agenda. Okay. So are we clear what we are going to discuss now? What we have been discussed earlier. Till here, whatever the topics which we have been discussed, any questions or any pointers here, you can ask me so that accordingly I'll first clarify them and then I'll go. So is it see why I'm drawing every day this diagram and then showing is you shouldn't confuse our flow. So what we are discussing and what we are going ahead, so that particular flow you shouldn't have any clarifications or any doubts or questions. That's the reason I was drawing this diagram every day. Since last 1 week every day we are doing this, but still you should understand which layer, what categories of testings will be doing it and who would be doing it and what is the objective of that particular testing. So this you need to understand it very clear. Any questions? No questions? Are we clear with all these topics?
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when it comes to mobile testing, are we following the same process?
See, that would be same, right, Sheila? So, for an example, now you come for the mobile, you would be doing the functional testing. So you would be having the API layer for UI screen. Now you are seeing the Swiggy app. Now, when you see the Swiggy app, so that would be your front end UI, and backend some APIs or the backend would be there, right? So now front end UI that would be covered as part of this, and backend APIs would be covered as part of this. You take
Okay.
any particular category of application, so these layers are common. That is the reason I'm saying it. It covers the 360 degrees of angle for any application. You bring up any application tier. So we have 1 tier, 2 tier, 3 tier, 4 tier, and mobile apps, right? You take any particular category of application that would fall under this if you have the strong testing parameter.
Okay.
By the way, it's a good one. Any other questions?
Sir, I have one more request also. So, if it's possible to give like overview knowledge on native apps, web apps when it comes to mobile testing, if it is feasible.
Definitely. So, but that was not part of this. But if you require, definitely we will give it to you. So,
Yeah.
any topic you related with, we'll try to cover it. But to going to the mobile apps, as of now, we will not go. So, when we complete all the topics, you can just list me on this, and then you can ask me so that I'll be explaining what you meant by hybrid app, native app, or
Yes.
these different categories of apps. I'll try to explain you on that.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, any other questions? Okay, so now let me talk about means if you see here, so we have been talked about the load test, stress test, endurance, spike, and two things are pending. So one is a volume test and the durability test. This is also the almost all it is equivalent for all these particular categories. So these are the major categories of performance testing which we need to know, which is six different categories. to to know the performance of any particular application. So these are the 6 different categories which it will help you to validate, or which it will help you to do these things. Okay, so yeah, so now let me give a quick recap. So the load is nothing but we will give a certain load on the application and see the application how stable it is and how speed it is, or how scalable it is. So the objective of this one is to give the load to the application and see how the application is performing under this particular load. So here we will be testing with, for an example, if we wanted to test anything. So this load, we will be having multiple iterations, means we will do the same thing multiple times. Hey, first we'll test with 100, second then we'll test with 500, then we'll test with 1000, then we will test it with 1500. Like this, will be increasing the load and we will test this particular applications. So this would be the one of the factor to do that. And the second one is stress testing. So via stress testing, we can derive 2 things from this one. So one thing, so if you're given a unbearable load, so unbearable load, so then the application would get crashed. So this will gives us the break-even point where the application get crashed, and then how the application is working on. And the second pointer for this one is it also gives us how it is recovering back to the normal, so which is resilience or self-healing. So under this particular stress, if the application is broken, so how it is recovering back. So this is called as recovery testing or resilience testing. But how this recovery testing and resilience testing will be possible means with the help of stress testing only we can do this one. And recently we have another tools called Chaos Gorilla, and other tools are there. Specifically, if you wanted to do the resilience testing, they will be trying to help you out. So this is the latest trend to do the resilience testing or auto healing or self healing capabilities. If you wanted to test, so these are the tools which it is in the market to test this one. So that would be a little bit deeper topic. So it need to go into the network and which APIs are there, so which APIs I can bring it out, and how the disaster recovery recovers, and all these things will be there. I'll not go into those all topics. But as of now, you need to understand stress testing will help us to give you 2 things. One, it will give you the break-even point, and secondly, it will give you the how the application is recovering back to the normal. So this is what it will try to give on it. And the next one is the endurance testing. So endurance testing is nothing but your longevity or your soak testing. So we will keep a certain amount of load on the application. For an example, now I give for 1000 users for 10 hours. So now if the 1000 users are in this particular on top of the application for duration of 10 hours, so how the application is behaving. So you see it, right? So now Flipkart sales is going on. So now if it would be like 1 lakh users would be there throughout the day. So now for 10 hours with 1 lakh users, so how the application is performing. So that they will be trying to do and check on it. And the next one is the spike testing. So here we have been discussed 2 patterns. One is regular spike, and then one is irregular spike. So there would be a certain ramp up and ramp down. So we follow the same ramp up and ramp down on this one. So guys, just give me 1 second, please. 1 second. Hello. Hey, sorry guys, that's a client call, so I can't skip that one. I'm very sorry. Okay, so as soon as we come here, so when it comes to the soak testing, or sorry, we are in the spike testing, right? So in the spike testing, so we'll be having irregular spikes, like we will be having interrupt ramping up and ramping down. So these spikes would be there. And then if it is a regular, so we will be giving a regular interval of time a load and then see how, and then we will ramp down that one and then we see it. So now what is this particular objective of this one is, when I have given a spike load, means a irregular of ramping up and ramping down the users, I'll be checking the stability of the application, whether the application is stable, and how the application speed, and how the application can be scalable or not. So these are the three things which we wanted to verify from the spike testing. And in the endurance testing, I given the certain load and I'll check whether this particular application is stable, scalable, and speed if I given for this much of time. So everywhere these three factors would be the basic factors for the performance testing, but it varies in a different situation. You see here, if you see in all these four categories, the situations are different. But what we are measuring is this. And if someone says that I wanted to do the performance testing, these are the basic things which they need to do it. And don't forget, scalability is nothing but auto scalability. So I told you, right, when we, the hotel example, if one person come to the hotel, one server will be there. If 20 people are coming, so then automatically there are 4 servers. And then the kitchen also, the chef also will be increased. So, and then once the load is decreased, then they will come to the normal. So the example of the scalability which I have been given, the same accurate example, as soon as we have been get the more load, by default it will spin up an server for us, and then it will serve that particular thing. And after that load is decreased, the server will be decreased. So this is called auto scaling, scaling to high when it is required and scaling to low when it is not required. So those are the things which it will be done. So now these all pointers we have been discussed yesterday. So this is a quick recap. So what we have been discussed on this. Any questions on this? Load, stress, endurance, and then spike, and their objectives and
Sir,
their
excuse me, sir.
outcomes. Yes.
So can you please explain once again recovery test with examples, sir?
Recovery testing. So we discussed on that the same on their day, right? So for an
Oh, that's
example,
just
now I was paying a payment. Okay. So now for an example, now Tatkal tickets you are doing it. Okay. On this particular Tatkal tickets, now for an example, there are 1 lakh users are doing the same thing. Everyone booked the ticket and came to the payment. Everyone was in the same page, payment page. Everyone paid with their credit card, payments, or the UPIs or credit card, debit card. Some mode of payment they have been done. Now it was saying that transaction is in progress. Now when it is in the transaction in progress, suddenly the application was means actually it will say that, hey, don't refresh your page, right? So suddenly the page you closed it, or suddenly the application get crashed. Application because of anything. So it went for 404 error or 504 error. So these are the client side errors, server side errors. Okay, you don't worry about this one. Some error came. Now what it will be doing is it will give you a pop-up. Okay, so saying that don't worry, the payment will be settled back. There will be OK button, and then as soon as you click the OK button, it will go to the home page or your once again booking page. If you don't get this particular OK means pop-up message, you don't know what it happened, or else it will come like a blank page for even for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you're there, even it will see you the blank page. What it was happening, you don't know. So then that is not the proper recovery. So now if you wanted to recover back, just keep a message saying that, boss, if your payment is deducted, it will be refunded back very soon, or the ticket would be booked for you. So if you have that message, OK button, as soon as you click the OK button, it goes to the home page. So now whether the system is recovering back to the normal or not, validating that one is called recovery testing. The name itself, it was saying recovering. So for an example, now for an whoever it might be, someone, some X is met with a small accident. So now he have a leg break. So now, so that particular leg break, he will be recovering as soon as possible. So that would be a recovering state for him. So he met with an accident, and then he operated, and he will wait for 2 weeks or 3 weeks to recover back. The same way, the application met with an abrupt scenario, and then they wanted to recover back this particular application to the normal. So that is what it was happening. So this is called recovery. So they wanted to recover back with normal. So that is what it happened over here.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Cool. Any other thing? Any other questions?
So in recovery, so
Yes, Sundar,
hello.
tell me. Go ahead, Sundar.
Yes, sir. Sir, it is also an example like that, like I'm saying, sir. Actually, when you're using laptop, um, suddenly power get off in Google Chrome browser. Just we have after we open the Google Chrome browser, it shows a message. It should restore or open you.
Yes, that's a one
Can
of
you
the
say?
thing for the recovery. Yes, that's one of the recovery also. Means it will restore all your browsers, all
Yeah.
your tabs.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions? Cool. Now coming back to here, the next one is volume testing. What do you mean by volume testing? What do you mean by volume testing? The name itself, it was saying that uh, actually speaking, there would be a slight differences between the volume testing and then the load testing, because in the load testing and the volume testing or durability testing or soak testing, you would be having different there is a headline differences between that. So that is the reason we have to be very much cautious, and always you remember that there will be having a different names, but you shouldn't worry about that. So that would be the common. So now you will be saying that this is a flood testing. Why I'm saying this flood testing and all these things? So the name itself, it will define you what it is. What do you mean by floods? What do you mean by floods?
But heavy rains, heavy water.
So now you're saying that it's a heavy
Huge
rain,
rain.
heavy water. Means for an example, if we have means heavily flooded. So before 5 years, Chennai was flooded. So means completely it was filled with the water, with the heavy rains. Now the same thing when we wanted to test a particular application, so we will give the heavy load on the application, and then we will see that how scalable the application is, or the how stable is the application, and how much speed it would be. We will give a heavy load, means heavy volume of users, and then we will be testing this particular application. So this is called as flood testing or heavy load testing. Sometimes this would be part of the load testing itself. See, load testing is consistently giving some small amount of loads and see how it would be happen. But here what we do is giving the load itself, we will give a very peak load, like we will give 10,000 users and we will see it. See, stress testing is the break even point we will be understanding, but flood testing is, or the heavy load testing or the volume testing is, we give a good number of volume and then test that particular application, whether the application is working or not, whether the application is stable or not, what are the other challenges we do have it. So those are the things we'll be trying to do it in the volume testing. So there is nothing much differences, but the objective of the testing is different. See, the objective of the testing here to give heavy loads and then see how this particular application is performing. So that is what the volume testing talks about. But don't get confused. Load, we will give minimum amount of loads and then you do the multiply, means for this one. Stress, we will give the high loads and then see the break even point. But here we are not, the objective for this one is not to do the break even point. We give the highest load. So now by this I can understand that, hey boss, this can undergo the maximum number of is 10,000. Then what here I'll give is 9,000 users, I'll give it, and then I'll test the application. If I have at a given second 9,000 users, how this particular application is performing. So that is called as volume testing or heavy load testing or flood testing. The name itself, it defines, it gives you the heavy load and see how the application is performing. Okay, so this would be one of the nice article. Usually, I always refer when I do for this volume testing. So it gives you the same information. See, I told you, right? Usually, the people will get confused with the volume testing and the load testing. So that is the differences they have been given on the video. And I'm not going into the the accurate details because performance testing itself is a separate course. Performance testing itself is a separate course. So that's the reason I'm not going into that one. At least you should know what is volume testing, load testing. The names, at least I wanted to introduce as part of testing. Okay, so this would be a good article. So just do the reference of this article. I was just bringing you into your chats. You can copy. I'll be giving you more number of articles like this. Just note down all these particular URLs at one point of time. That will prepare you a complete you will be having a big list of URLs with you. Is that? Is it? I think I have been missed it. Okay, so I'll just ping to Pina. So Pina will share you on this one. I just went to some other things which I have been missed. I think I have been messed up, so I went out. Okay, cool. So anyhow, I'll share you that particular URL so you can get it. Now the next one. So now we have been discussed about the volume testing, giving the flooded of the volume and then check whether the application is stable, speed, and then scalable. And the next one is durability testing. So in the durability testing, so we will be talking about the duration, durability. The name itself, it was saying that the duration of the testing. So now what is meant by the durability testing? So if you see here in this particular durability testing, so this you can refer this particular article. I'll be, you will be, are you seeing this?
No, sir. Your screen is
No, sir.
not visible, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, I think I have been out, right? So it must to do that. Okay, so now you're able to see it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is called the durability testing. What is the basic interest or what is the basic thing for to know the durability testing is? We will be identifying from the resources point of view. I didn't understand what this exactly. I'll try to explain this one more detail. This is a little bit a deeper topic of performance testing. I'll not go too much of details, but at least high level I try to give this one. Now, what we will be doing means because the durability and then endurance, we will have certain differences. So now I told you, right? For volume and the load, they'll have some differences. And for the durability and the endurance also, we have the testing. But the objective of endurance testing is what? We give certain load, we give certain time, and then we will be validating the speed and then scalability and the stability. But in terms of the durability, this can be do it in terms of infrastructure. I didn't understand. What do you mean by infrastructure? For an example, I am hosted my application. Okay, I hosted my, this is called my app server, means application server, means somewhere else I need to host my code, right? See, now for an example, now you're accessing the Flipkart. So now when you're accessing the Flipkart, you're getting all the things into the front end. So now when you, whatever the things you are hosting here, now for an example, now you the Facebook or the Flipkart, whichever you wanted to use it. So now you are trying to use this one, right? So okay, I'll take Amazon. Okay, so now when you wanted to do it, so now this is what the Amazon which you are trying to use it, right? So now when you're trying to use, when you access this particular URL, so when you are able to access means, so somewhere else all your code should be there, and all the particular pointer means the URL should be there. With this particular URL, you are accessing this particular code, and then it is displaying in front of us. right? Now, for this particular app server, if at all I'm giving more number of users, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, all 40,000 users I have been given it. More number of users are falling on this particular server. Now this server need to serve this one. So now what it will do for the auto scaling. In the auto scaling, for example, if I have given 5,000 users, then what it will try to do is, hey, 2,500 users, you go to this server. 2,500 users go to this server. And if I have 7,500 users, then it will spin up another system and it will go for 2,500 users here. So someone is diverting this particular load to different sections. You know, right? The traffic police. If there is a terrific traffic, so what he will do? He will divert the traffic to the different roads, and then he will control that particular traffic. The same way here, I have all the different loads are there. So now with this particular different loads, then it will divert that one into different routes. Now this is called load balancer. That is right. The name itself, it is justifying the name. It takes the load and it was trying to balance the load, which we will call traffic police. We have heavy traffic, so then the traffic police will divert into different roads and he will send them. The same way, we will have a load balancer, which it will balance that particular load and it will generate. If we don't have less traffic, then he will allow to go in the same road. So then the same way, if we have less users, then directly it will hit to the server. But what would be the server configuration? Basics, even if it need to serve 2,500 users, right? Now what would be the server configuration it should have? Server configuration means what is your CPU processor we are using it. So now we will be using all i5, i7, i3 generated processors, and then 3.4 gigahertz processor speed, and then octa core, and then hard disk SATA hard disk SSD or HDD will be using the hard disk. So these are the configurations. This is what the system configurations we use it, right? System configurations we'll be trying to use it. Now, if you wanted to scale up, means even if it is not able to identify 2,500 users, it can be handled only 1,000 users. Means every time I need to spin up, if I have 7,500, means I need to spin up 8 instances. So I need to increase the capacity of this one, right? The increase the load of this particular server also, right? How I can increase the load of this one? How I can, means I need to test this one, right? So this is called vertical scaling. Vertical scaling is nothing but increasing the hardware capacity of this particular servers. Is called vertical scaling. Horizontal scaling, increasing this particular servers. When the load is increasing, this particular servers are increasing and then decreasing, then this is called horizontal scaling. So testing this particular vertical scaling and horizontal scaling in terms of hardware and infrastructure. So how we can do is with the help of durability testing. So durability testing, what it will try to give is, it gives you the duration, load balancing is working fine or not, horizontal scaling is working or not, vertical scaling is working or not. So validating these two things, criteria, so these all things can be achievable with the durability test. Apart from this one, we will be testing something called memory leaks and the resources utilization or starvation. So these are the terminologies which you need to understand. I'll not go into the details of this one until unless if you really required what do you meant by a memory leak or what do you meant by a resource starvation. So these are the other factors also, because now I introduced two more new terminologies, that is horizontal scaling, vertical scaling. So now when you're scaling, so how you will be scaling, so with the help of this one. See, this is most this will gives you from the infrastructure point of view, so how the application need to be scaled in terms of the servers. You seen it, right? So with this particular durability test, I'm validating my hardware. So whether the server is server capacity is good or auto scaling is going good. So these all things can be validated with the durability testing. And here the major things we will be doing it with the memory leaks and then uh, resource starvations and all. So if you wanted, I can give you a high level view on the memory leaks or else if you don't want it, I can stop it off. So if by this itself, if you're getting confused, then I'll not go into this, or else if you want me to explain, I can explain you what you meant by memory leak, at least at a high level, and then resource starvation at a high level. Is it okay, or can I go ahead for the next topic?
Can you please go ahead for the memory leak and
Okay,
resource
so now
starvation?
memory leaks. See, now this is a most important topic when we go for the performance testing. What do you meant by memory leak, or how it can be recovered back? I'll give you in a very simple terms and very easy terms. I'll not make this one very complicated. Okay, so now I have one process. One process. What is meant by process? See, now I open Microsoft Whiteboard. This is process. You know, right? If you go here, give a right click, Task Manager. In the Task Manager, you can see it's here. You are seeing it, processes. You see Firefox browser. I open the Firefox browser. I open the Edge. I open the Teams. Whatever the things which I have been opened here, everything is called as a process. Till here clear? Now this particular process, you see here the CPU utilization and the memory utilization. If I just double clicked on it, it will gives me the ascending order and descending order, which is occupying more memory. Okay, see, if memory is more, it occupies more CPU. CPU means
Central processing units.
so now central processing unit means it handles all the processes, right? So now this is what we will be talking about, your gigahertz. So now when you're buying it, right? When you're buying a laptop, you'll say that hi-fi processor means it processes, it takes multiple processes and it will process. So now here the process speed with the generation, you'll be giving it a i5 11th generation, and it will have 2.5 gigahertz. Means with this particular speed, it takes the multiple processors and then it will process at a time. This is what the speed it was saying it, right? When you're buying a laptop, i5 processor and 11th generation with this speed means, then it takes, it gives you the number of processes parallelly you can take it and then process them parallelly. So these all things is what your CPU configuration. Central processing unit. So the processes, it takes the processes. Now you've seen it, all these processes it has been taken. See, I didn't open some because some hidden things are there to work for your laptop. All these processes are running at that one point of time. Now you can see it, some processes will occupy more memory. So now Firefox, because I opened multiple browsers here, Firefox, I opened multiple things. So consistently, so that's the reason it occupied more number of memory. You see here, memory utilization is 70%. Because of that one, it will grow, the system speed will be less. 70% of memory. So now if at all I'm opening here multiple tabs, okay, you see here the processor also slowly it will increase. So if I have been opened here different sites and I try to place it whatever, so if I have wanted to play some songs, so now as soon as I have been doing that one, you just see here the processor will be increasing. Okay, now I just wanted to show, now the processors are increasing. Okay, the processors are increasing, the memory would be increasing. To what is the maximum extent it can increase? What is the maximum extent it can increase? Anything it can increase only for 100% only, right? So 100% is a maximum. It will increase to 100%. And if memory is 100%, CPU is also 100%. Then you will be seeing something rolling. So now if I open multiple things, see, now by default the processor will the processor will be increasing. You see, CPU increased 74%, the memory is increasing because I have been opened all other things which is not required. So now when I go for 100, what it will do? See, now the symbol is seeing right, the loading symbol. See, now the CPU is increasing. So now 82%, 79%, 80%, because it was opening. It occupies some memory and space. And I have been opened this one. It occupied some memory and space. And if I open any other things, it also once again it will goes to the next bigger space. So now what it was happening? So now what you need to understand, when memory increases, the CPU is also increased. Now for an app, now what is an application? So now I opened YouTube channel. Okay. Now the memory has been got to 80%. The memory got to 80%. Now what I'll try to do, you see here how many IPM is used for the mobile automation. So just I will be trying to close this one. Now I have been closed. As soon as I closed, it decreased to 36%, 70%. The memory also decreased, right? When I open some process, okay, the P1 is any process, the YouTube channel, YouTube application I have been opened, it occupied 80% of memory. When I occupied 80% of memory, approximately even the CPU is also occupied. Now I closed YouTube. What it should happen? This 80% should come to 0, right? Is it not? See, when I open it occupied 80%. But when I close this 80% should go to 0, right? It only went to 20%. Because of this 20%, still the CPU is running. Boss, when I close this one, it should go to 0, right? Why it was in 20%?
Due to other backend processes.
This is what called as memory leak. Somewhere else, something is still there. Even though you close your application, some memory it is occupying for it. Why it is occupying, for what it is occupying, we don't know. This is called memory leak. We need to fix this particular memory leak. So when you close this application, you should close this particular processes also. All this memory should be cleaned off. If it is not cleaned off, then it is occupying unnecessary 20%, right? Now I'll show you to you some unnecessary processes will be running into you in your system. That's the reason, why 68%. So I'm using only these particular things. What all the below things we have it? Some memory leaks, some things are going on. You see? I was not using the console Windows host. From where these things are coming from? Somewhere else, these things are running for me. I told you, right? Everyone's system is compromised. Some hacking with the internet. Someone is opening and something is they are viewing my system. Many people are viewing my system. However, so what you need to understand is, if you open one application, if you close that particular application, if it close everything to the 0, back to the normal, then that is the perfect application. If the application is not closing, still it occupying some memory back, then this is called memory leaks. Because of this particular memory leaks, this will show the impact on the CPUs. You tell me, if you open Flipkart and you are not able to open any other applications, then what you do? You will uninstall Flipkart immediately. Because of this one, it was hampering your phone. That is the reason for few apps you download it and then you'll uninstall that particular apps immediately. So those are the things called as memory leaks. So this is a very high level information which I have been given. So first of all, I explained you what is memory, what is process by showing this. And then once you open it, how the memory is occupying. And what is a memory leak? When you open an application and close the application, it should come back to the normal. But if not come to the normal, it gives you some memory leak. You need to go to 0, but still it is 20%. Means somewhere else the application is having some more. It was looking for some more information. Looking means storing have the memory. So this is called a memory leaks. The people will explain you in voice, means in a opposite manner, which it would be slightly confusing for you. So that's the reason I just taken you, which is the simplest form to explain you. I don't know whether you people got the pointers, but still, yeah, these terms are very important. Memory utilization or memory leak. So these are the things. See, now this is called memory utilization. Simple, right? When you open an application, this is what you have used, then it is called as memory utilization. And when you close the application but still it is using your memory, then this is called memory leak. Very simple. However, so any questions? All clear? Okay. So the next pointer which I wanted to tell about is resource starvation. What do you mean by starvation?
Hungry.
Hungry, feeling hungry.
See, now you are so, I mean, for an example, you are so hungry, but you are not getting your food. Then that is called as a starvation, right? The resource starvation. See, it will occur because same issue, memory, CPU. There are multiple processors running, P1, P2, P3, P4. Maximum what I can do, 100% of memory, that's it. If P1 is consuming 60% and P2 is consuming 40%, and these two processes are there, this was waiting, hey, give me some memory for me, I'm so hungry, can you give me some memory for me so that I can initiate my process. I don't have the memory space to establish my process, can you please give me your space. See, the same thing, there are 4 people eating, means they have food. These only 1 and 2 persons are getting food. These 2 people are starving. Boss, can you give me please, I'm hungry. They ate full and then they give it to these people. Then these people started eating. Very simple concept, right? The same way here, your processes are ready to consume, but you are not giving the enough memory space for this one. So what are the processes it consuming? So which these are the culprits, right? These 2 people are culprits. These people are not allowing the memory for others. Which processes are culprit? We will understand by this particular resource starvation. See how, see now how, see even in normal also, right? So the people, they will not get the money or anything. So these contractors will take all the money, they will keep it. These people will be suffering for that. So now then we need to identify who are the culprits here, and then from them the money would be released back to the people. Or the same example, the hunger example, same, the processor in the computer language also it is same, but if you read this it will gives you lot and lot of information. But you need to understand the holistically, the point is this particular processes will be waiting for certain time until unless these processes will release that particular memory. So now what we need to do, fine tune thing is, so the developers will jump into the picture and then they will correct these processes. Hey, why are you taking too much of memory? First you take whatever enough and then release the memory to the other processes. They will correct that, so that it will consume 40% and remove the 20% here, and here it takes 15% and remove the 25% here, so that it will takes that and then it will work. So this is how an application will work. For an example, for a Flipkart, it might require 4 processes. Guys, can you please go on mute? So now if you see here, so this is how the processors, means resource starvation can be happen. So this is called memory leaks and the resource starvation. So in terms of the durability testing. Any questions? Any question? So this is how we are done means we are done with all the different categories of performance testing. So we'll go for the ETL, DB, and then security testing. What are the different kinds of testings here? This is what we are going to discuss for tomorrow. Okay. Any other questions? And even in the function